Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, but what about what they did to me? You're thinking, so I'm just supposed to let them off the hook? No, you're supposed to let yourself off the hook. You're not absolving anyone of their wrongdoing, you're just refusing to stay chained to it. Because as long as your identity is built on what they did, you are still under their control. And as long as you're waiting for an apology or for the past to somehow rewrite itself, you're not in charge of your life. They are. But when you say, "This happened, it was wrong, but I will not let it define what comes next," that's power. Radical responsibility isn't about guilt. It's about ownership. It's not about shame. It's about freedom. When you finally understand this, when it clicks, your life begins to shift. You stop hoping for someone to come along and fix you. You stop needing someone to validate your pain before you allow yourself to heal. You stop waiting for the right time or for your childhood to get repaired or for someone to swoop in and finally give you the love you were denied. You realize that the cavalry, it's not coming. And that's not a tragedy. That's an invitation. Because it means you are the cavalry. You are the hero you've been waiting for. And that truth is so much more empowering than any fantasy of rescue. From now on, when your life doesn't go the way you want, when you're broke or alone or frustrated or spinning in circles, don't point the finger outward. Point it inward. Not to blame yourself, but to remind yourself where the power really lives. If you don't like the outcomes you're getting, look at the inputs you're providing. If your job sucks, what are you doing about it? If you're lonely, what kind of energy are you putting into your relationships? If your body is falling apart, what choices are you making day to day? Every one of these outcomes is traceable. No mystery, just math. And yeah, it's uncomfortable, but what's the alternative? Living in a fantasy where everything bad is someone else's fault, where you're always the passenger in your own life? There's no growth there, no healing, no future. Let me say it again for the people in the back. No one is coming to save you. That's not bad news. It's the best news you'll ever hear. Because it means you don't have to wait anymore. You don't have to ask for permission. You don't have to beg for scraps. You just have to start. Start with what you have, where you are, right now. Responsibility is the starting point of all freedom, and freedom is the beginning of all transformation. You have a choice to make, not once, but every single day. Will you own your life or outsource it? Will you tell yourself a story of power or one of helplessness? Will you act as if your decisions matter or hide behind the illusion that they don't? And listen, I'm not here to pretend it's easy. Changing your life is hard. Facing your demons is hard. Choosing new behavior when the old ones are more comfortable is hard. But suffering in a prison of your own creation? That's even harder. So ask yourself this: which kind of hard are you willing to live with? If you choose the right kind, the kind that requires effort, discipline, and truth, then you give yourself something priceless. You give yourself agency. You give yourself identity. You give yourself a future. And look, I'm not here to take credit for your success. I won't take the blame for your failures either, because this is your life. Not mine, not your therapist's, not your parents', not your partner's. Yours. I don't get to enjoy the peace you'll feel when you start living with intention. I don't get the satisfaction of seeing your body change, or your relationships thrive, or your business finally take off. That's for you. And I also don't carry the burden of your regret if you stay where you are. That, too, is yours. You see, this is the agreement. You get the consequences of your actions and inactions, all of them. And so does everyone else. So please, Don't ever stand in between someone and the consequences of their choices. That's theft. And don't let anyone steal your consequences either. Because whether it's glory or ruin, you earned it. This is the path of sovereignty, the path of self-ownership. And it's not for the faint of heart. But if you've made it this far, then I believe you're ready. You don't need more advice. You need to act. You already know what needs to change. You've known for a while. The only question now is, will you? So go. Be the cavalry. Be the one who shows up for yourself. Because no one else is going to do it for you. And the beautiful part is, you don't need them to.
Here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. Because victimhood feels good. For a while. It feels warm, familiar, safe, like a blanket made of excuses. When you're the victim, you don't have to change. You don't have to take risks. You don't have to admit that maybe, just maybe, you were the one who put yourself in this position. But here's the brutal truth. You cannot move forward while you're still curled up inside that mindset. You cannot build anything meaningful from the position of powerlessness. And if your identity is rooted in being the one who was hurt, betrayed, overlooked, or abandoned, then every step forward will feel like a betrayal of your story. Yes, people can be cruel. Yes, people can disappoint you. Some do it by accident. Others do it with precision. But the question isn't whether you were wronged. The question is, what are you going to do now? Because you only start to reclaim your life when you stop being the object in your own story and start becoming the subject, the one who acts, who decides, who takes responsibility for shaping what happens next. Even when you didn't choose the trauma, even when you didn't deserve the betrayal, even when life was deeply unfair, especially then. That's what radical accountability looks like. It means taking full ownership, not just of what you've done, but of what's been done to you. Not because you caused it, but because you are the one living with its consequences. And that means you are also the only one who can turn those consequences into something meaningful. Now here's the paradox. The more responsibility you take for your life, the faster your life gets better. Why? Because when you assume everything is your fault, even when it clearly isn't, you start looking for solutions instead of someone to blame. You start focusing on what you can do instead of what you can dwell on. And that shift, simple as it sounds, is where all personal transformation begins. I'll give you an example from my own life. Like many people, I've been betrayed. Friends I thought I could count on, family members who made promises and broke them, lovers who said one thing and did another. And for years, I lived inside this mental echo chamber, obsessing over how they should have treated me, how they should have respected me, stayed loyal, showed up, cared more. I played that loop over and over like a sad song I couldn't stop singing, and every time I replayed it, I felt worse. But here's the truth I eventually had to choke down. I was the one who invited those people into my life. I was the one who trusted people who hadn't earned that trust. I was the one who kept showing up for friends who never showed up for me. I was the one holding on to relationships that were one-sided, hoping they'd magically balance out. Even in my own family, I was the one trying to maintain relationships that were clearly draining the life out of me. Nobody forced me to do those things. In fact, I worked hard to make those relationships last. I went above and beyond for people who weren't even meeting me halfway. And that's not on them. That's on me. That realization hurt, but it was also the beginning of real power, Because if I had the ability to choose badly, then I also had the ability to choose better, to stop chasing people who didn't value me, to stop playing savior, to stop begging for crumbs and start building a life where I don't need anyone to rescue me from my own decisions. I didn't need to wait for some magical approval. I didn't need permission. I just needed to wake up. This is what radical responsibility looks like. It's saying, every good thing and every bad thing in my life, somehow I played a role in it. Maybe through action, maybe through inaction, but I was there, and I can choose differently now. This mindset changes everything, because suddenly you're not powerless. You're not doomed to repeat the past. You're not stuck unless you choose to be. You're free. There are ways to build wealth. There are ways to build meaningful relationships. There are ways to be healthy, fulfilled, focused. There are paths, and they're not mysterious. They're not reserved for the lucky or the special. But if you keep acting in ways that go against the truth of those paths, if you ignore the game, refuse to train, deny the rules, then don't be surprised when you keep losing. So you've got two options. Option 1, give up the desire. Let go of the dream. Accept that you're not going to have the thing you say you want and live with that decision. Or, option 2, change your behavior. Get in alignment with reality. Do the hard thing. Make the hard call. Both are difficult, but only one gives you a shot at success. And whichever you choose, you don't need to read another book. You don't need to move across the country. You don't need to wait until the time is right. You can start right now with what you already have. Because what you've always had, what you were born with, is the power to respond, to own it, to step into the uncomfortable truth of it all. All you're really doing is ascending, like a forgotten prince waking up to the throne that was always his.
If your life sucks right now, if you're broke, lonely, out of shape, full of anger or shame, then listen closely. Because here's the truth no one has the guts to tell you. It's not your ex. It's not your parents. It's not the system. It's you. And that's the best news you'll ever hear. Because if you're the problem, you're also the solution. This isn't a pity party. This is a wake-up call. And the second you stop waiting for someone to fix it, your life begins to change. Let's cut through the fantasy. No one's coming. Not now, not later, and definitely not when it feels most urgent. No one is going to save you from the job you hate, the loneliness you carry, or the anxiety you quietly nurse at night. No hero is riding in. No parent, no mentor, no lover, no guru, no therapist, no magical stranger who finally gets you. It's just you. It's always been you. The longer you hold on to the belief that someone else is responsible for delivering you the life you want, the longer you postpone actually living it. You are the one. You are the Calvary. You are the rescue plan. And that's not a punishment. It's freedom. If you're listening to this, you're likely old enough to grasp a powerful truth. No matter where you are in life right now, the responsibility for what happens next belongs to you. Entirely. Responsibility isn't about blame. It's about power. It's about owning your ability to respond. That's all responsibility means. The ability to respond, to act, to pivot, to choose differently. So ask yourself this. Who has the ability to respond to your job, your finances, your relationships, your mental health? Exactly. You do. That means if you hate your job, can't seem to attract healthy relationships, feel isolated, or like life is one long uphill grind, guess who's standing in the middle of every single one of those problems? You.
That's not an attack. It's a revelation. Because if you're at the center of the problem, you can also be the center of the solution. You see, most people want to play life like it's a game with no rules. They want to win without preparing. They want rewards without responsibility. They want love without vulnerability, success without risk, discipline without discomfort. But try breaking the rules of any game, chess, football, even Monopoly, and see how far you get. If there's no strategy, no training, no willingness to learn the game itself, then any victory will be rare, accidental, and unsustainable. And here's the real kicker. Life doesn't care what you meant to do. It responds to what you actually did or didn't do. If I train, I improve. If I slack off, I suffer. Whether I follow the rules or not, the consequences land squarely in my lap. And it's not just logical. It's just. It would be robbery if I worked overtime to earn a bonus and someone came along and stole it. That would feel like injustice, right? But here's the twist most people miss. It's also robbery if someone protects you from the consequences of your poor choices. If you slack off, sabotage your relationships, ignore your health, and someone steps in to shield you from the fallout, that's just another kind of theft. You are stealing the truth from yourself. This is why I never take credit for anyone's success. It's also why I refuse to take responsibility for their failure. If your life improves, I don't get the benefits. I don't wake up in your happy relationship. I don't get to live inside your calm, confident mind. You do. If your life falls apart, I don't lie awake at night in your quiet desperation. I don't suffer your shame or regret. You do. So why would I care more than you do? I won't take ownership of your success, and I won't accept blame for your failure. That's the deal. That's the boundary. Now ask yourself, how often do you secretly celebrate your wins as if they were all your doing, while quietly blaming others for your setbacks? Be honest. If you're going to own the good, you've got to own the bad too. That's not weakness. That's strength. In fact, it's one of the most empowering decisions you can make. No one else is going to make your life better for you, and no one else is going to suffer the consequences if you don't. That burden and that opportunity are both yours. That's why your life is your responsibility.